we want to bring the cost of living into alignment for Australians. I think the meat industry as a whole needs to take a serious look at how we support farmers and how we can offer them value without them needing to look to export markets.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
G'day and welcome to episode 50 of the Australian Butchers Guild podcast. Well, we've hit the half-century mark. That's a bit of a milestone. They never said we'd make it. A massive thanks to all our guests who've shared their stories and listeners who've supported us along the way. It's been an incredible journey learning about people behind the trade and how they operate, hearing from butchers tuning in from all over the world. You know, the messages and support means a lot to me. Today's guest is someone I met about 17 years ago, back when he was managing one of Sydney's high-end shops in Sydney's eastern suburbs. That man is Todd Malone. Since then, Todd's carved out a name for himself, building a successful brand up in Port Douglas and then expanding into the Northern Territory. Running butcheries in regional areas comes with its fair share of challenges, especially when it comes to finding skilled labour. But Todd's been proactive in tackling that head on. He's passionate about bringing new talent into the trade and has been involved in local school career days, teaming up with his manager Tamika Banks to inspire the next generation of butchers. Welcome, Tamika and Todd.
Hey, Doug. Nice to be here.
Hey, Doug.
How's weather up in Darwin?
It's still nice and hot, even though it's dry season.
We have had the woolies on, though. We've been waking up to sort of 18 degrees, so that's sit by the fire and turn off the air conditioners, break out your woolies. Very cold up here, this 20 degrees business.
I really feel sorry for you guys. So how's business up there in the Territory?
Doug, the Territory is such a unique beast. I won't liken us to Western Australia just because I think we're better, but you know, we're our own little ecosystem up here. We've got great local support. Tourism's very consistent. You know, we can tell you the week it's going to kick off. You know, we see all the vans roll into town. So business up here is good. Meat prices have changed just a little bit, but, you know, that's the industry. We've been through a lot of meat prices up and down. So, you know, business on a whole in the Territory and company-wide, very good.
So you've got 3 shops?
2 in Darwin, 1 in Casuarina, 1 in Gateway, which is Yarrawonga and sort of Palmerston area, and then 1 in North Queensland in Port Douglas, and that's sort of retail and wholesale trade over there in Queensland.
And how long have you been up there for, mate?
We opened up here in 2020. I remember it because I promised my wife I'd only be here for 18 months and we moved back to North Queensland, and that was 5 years ago.
Wow. And Tamika, I remember meeting you last year.
Yeah, down in Tassie.
That's right. Yeah, Tassie at the AMIC Sausage King comp, and you were in the apprentice competition.
Yeah, it was a great experience, you know, going down and getting to talk to other apprentices in the same boat and learning new things, learning how other shops operate. And yeah, it was really good to see the products that the other apprentices created and came up with, especially with the value added. It was a really good learning experience.
It is a great learning experience. Anybody out there listening, what would you say? Would you recommend them to have a crack at it?
Yeah, definitely. Even just the state competition before you get there is a great learning experience as well. It's a good confidence booster too. I mean, even if you don't win and you don't go on to the next step, you're still learning all these new tips and tricks from the other apprentices and the judges and any butchers or bosses that are there too. I mean, it's all just a big learning experience. But yeah, going down to Tasmania was the big eye-opener. And we got to go to the abattoirs down there too.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting little abattoirs down there. Only a small one. Greenham's abattoirs down there.
Yeah.
You know, only a small processing facility, but boy, they do some good work down there.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get into the trade, Tamika? You've only been in it for a short time, but how did you come about becoming a butcher?
Well, look, I'm actually from Queensland, and in all honesty, I went traveling with my dad, and we were supposed to only be in Darwin for a week, and that was like 4.5 years ago now. Decided to get a job while I was up here and started in a butcher shop, just as a counter hand. And I do have a few butchers in my family as well, but it wasn't really like a career path that I ever always thought of doing. It was just something I kind of stumbled across, and the passion for it came straight away. I started as a counter hand, then went into running the sort of pet food freezer area, moved on to another shop, and now I'm with Malone's and still a third year apprentice, and I'm now managing one of their stores. And yeah, it's been great.
Well done. No, that's great. So what is it that you like the most about it, the trade?
I'm a sucker for value added and what you can create from scratch. I also really enjoy, like, you get a whole beast in and you can break it down into all these little things, all the end products from just this one whole lamb or side of beef or anything else.
So you're still getting carcasses, you're not there?
Yeah, we do get sides of beef in at our Casuarina store because we've got the rail area to hold it. Yeah, and we get quite a few whole lambs in at both stores every week.
Yeah, awesome. Todd, I think I first met you about I was trying to work it out 17 years ago in the eastern suburbs.
I reckon it's longer because
Really?
I moved to Sydney. So I worked for Tees Brothers down in the southeast South Australia, and I moved to Sydney in 2000, I think.
Yeah, right, okay.
Because I'm 26 years in the industry, 26, 27 years. So got turned up in Sydney broke with $50
Yeah,
from Tees, just rolling up as a young lad. Got a job at Leonard's Chickens.
okay.
And then next door was a butcher shop. So I started working there for the old AC Butchery. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, down in Leichhardt.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
And, just got my feet there and I could use a knife. So off I went. I think I met you with, when I started with Cookie.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so like 2003, 2004. So
Wow.
that's a bit of water under the bridge.
That is a lot of water under the bridge, mate. Yeah, no, they were interesting old days back then, and Cookie's still going strong with I think he's got about 10 shops or something. So
11
shops.
Yep.
Yeah,
I lean on him still for a bit of advice and a bit of knowledge.
mate, he's been around for a long time, and what he doesn't know isn't worthwhile knowing because he certainly does. He's been around a long time, and he runs a very tight ship. Living up in I suppose operating a business up in the territory, many problems getting meat because it's so far away from the rest of us, eastern states, and where we do a lot more processing. Any issues up there with that?
In terms of pure logistic issues, it's easier to get freight from Adelaide to the territory than it is from Brisbane to Port Douglas, and cheaper as well. It's a lot further. But it's one straight road, right? You just one truck straight on the track, straight to Darwin. A day and a half, 2 days, we've got our load. So logistics are great for the territory, and our suppliers look after us well because they know that it is a long way, so they put a lot of effort into getting stuff to us. But that's all very well and good. Then it rains, and then it's another cup of tea, right?
Yeah.
So that constraint, we've done a lot of learning and. As far as logistics go and, getting meat, we learnt the most over COVID because we have a big, big cold store up here and now we sit on 30 pallets at any given time. We carry trim and that's a lot of cold store, I guess, for just 2 retail outlets, but we need it. If the road gets cut off, we need to supply the community. It's not just our business we're considering. It's, we're part of a community. And if we're not, like the first thing that happens is Woolies and Coles, right, 1.5 days without a truck, there's no meat left on the shelves. So where does your local community come? They come to us and they have an expectation that we'll provide for them. So we take that pretty seriously up here and we carry stock according to that.
How many butcher shops up there in the whole of the NT? There's probably not more than, 14, 15, something like that?
Oh, look, there's 10 up here in Darwin. I think, Tamika, 10?
Yeah.
Maybe more?
Yeah.
So, then you go down the coast, you've got Catherine, 11, Milner's, 12, 13. Yeah, it'd have to be over 15, I think.
Yeah, right, yeah. I remember when last time I was up there, I think I got to about 12 shops, I think it was. But obviously you've opened another one since then. There's always one or two kicking around the place that you don't get to see because they're sort of hidden in the back of nowhere. So what about labour and that? What do you guys do there about attracting more into the workforce?
One of our most recent bits of success, I guess, for HR and hiring, and Tamika and Tio, the state manager, have been doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, so recently Tio and we went to a school locally, and it was kind of just, you had like the whole grade there. I think it was like grade 10, just young people that at that age of getting a first job. And we went in with a couple other businesses like mechanics and such. And it was just kind of talking about our trade and really the like different pathways that it can lead to. Like, it's not always just become a qualified butcher and that's it. Like, you can go down the agricultural pathway as well and go work on a station as a qualified butcher and all that sort of thing. And Yeah, Tio and I actually had a lot of success with that. By the end of it, after me doing my little speech, a lot of the kids there, they didn't have maybe like 1 or 2 questions for the other trades that were there. And then when it was question time for me, it was that 50 of them. And it was interesting because most of them were young females as well. Some of them were wanting to know, because I'm a female in the trade, how do I deal with it being a male-dominated trade? There was a lot of interest in the recent Tasmania competition that we were just talking about as well. And the fact that I mentioned the winner from there got to go to Paris, that got a lot of interest into that. But yeah, it was quite successful for us as well, because even by the end of just that one talk at the school, we had like 3 young people come up and ask if we're hiring and asking for an apprenticeship and stuff like that too. So yeah, it's definitely a big success.
That's a great initiative, isn't it? That is something I think a lot of butchers should sort of look at doing, and spending a little bit more time trying to attract more people, especially younger people, back into the trade, because everybody's got the same problems. Labour, can't get enough people. And I know when my son works in a butcher shop, they've just put on another apprentice. This young fella walked up and knocked on the door looking for an apprenticeship. They just grabbed him and said, come on in. So, you just can't knock anybody back, because you just never know when the next person's going to walk away either.
Well, we landed into this. We've been pretty active as a company cultivating young people in our industry, I think, because we isolated really clearly where the best chance of having success was. And this was a bit of an add-on. Apprenticeships Northern Territory approached us and said, hey, every other trade in Darwin comes along to these school events. Would you be interested? And we went, absolutely. Why has no one ever asked us before? We're an industry, right? And so I think therein lies exactly the problem. When you think trades, you go plumber, builder, electrician, carpenter. And when you go butcher, butcher's like a baker and a chef. It's not really a trade, right? And I think we, as industry professionals, we're changing that very quickly. People don't think that we are this subpar trade now compared to the core trades. We are definitely up there. And young people now go, oh, wow, being a butcher is like being a builder, being an electrician. It's a very highly valuable trade that pays well and is a big skill. But most people I talk to go, I'm not going to put on a young person. They haven't finished year 12. They struggle socially. They might have some learning difficulties. They might have social skills that don't fit. They might not be strong enough to carry a body of beef. All these negative things about potential applicants. What we've noticed, Doug, is if someone sits down for an interview or comes into the shop and we look and go, this young person maybe struggles with a bit of maths and English, is really shy potentially, has some social awkwardness, that's us. We want that person because we've got an environment that cultivates and nurtures. All of our staff are different. You've been in the meat industry. There's no such thing as a normal butcher, right? They're all quirky and different and strange. So, a quirky, different character with their own individual personalities actually fit in really well. You've just got to make them feel welcome. And if you can do that with a young person, welcome, valued, look after them, okay, you've got to put more training in because maybe they didn't finish year 12, but they're not going to finish with you, do their trade and take off. These people are committed people because they see they've been cared for and valued. They're nurtured in an environment, and you've got career butchers. That's what we're chasing, and we're seeing that come through with that attitude change.
That's a great way of nurturing people into the business, is taking on all types of people if they've got whatever difficulties they have, whether it be learning or personality wise, because everybody is different. Everybody can mix in, and like you said, butchers are quirky in their own sort of way. So we're not. A lot of people say we're not normal. But we are, one thing I took away from that, then you mentioned trade. I've always sort of thought, you might hear about people talking about tradies. You never sort of think about adding butchers into that realm. So to me, I've always sort of thought we are tradies. We are, whether we're cooking or whether we're baking or whether we're cutting up meat or being a sparky, you are a tradie. You're doing a trade.
We're governed by national legislation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exactly the same as every other industry. And if you're not on the ball, I respect all the trades, but something goes wrong when what we do and we impact the health of a human. It's pretty serious.
There's a lot to take away from that going out into the schools because, like as I said before, everybody's having a grizzle about not getting enough labour. That's a great spot to start. when you're looking at encouraging more people into the trade, in particular women, because we've seen a big influx of women over the last 3 years into the trade. There's a butcher down in Bungendore in New South Wales. He's got 9 women working in his shop, and 3 of them are apprentices, or actually I think 3 of them are now butchers. They all did their apprenticeship there. 9 of them, and it's a great business. It's a good sized business for a little town down south, in sort of.
I don't know whether I'm just trying to think. What's the split in Kaz now?
In our store,
Yeah.
I'd say it's actually pretty even too. Yeah, I'd say we've only got maybe 1 extra male, but yeah, we're pretty big on females as well.
Yeah, great.
We had a day, this was a while back, I rolled into our Gateway store. I can't think which day it was in particular, but I walked in and we had 5 female staff on for the day. And Nick, the manager of the store, had gone home. He was doing like a 6 to 12 noon, and he has his kids that day, so he was off. And the feedback I get, a lot of these customers I've known and are friends of mine, and the biggest impact it has, if you've got too many men in the shop, it potentially can be intimidating for some customers. But I haven't noticed it. I've never ever experienced one of the blokes coming in with his low and slow, I need a big brisket and I want it trimmed this way and I want beef ribs and I want this and that. I never get any negative feedback from them to go, I was in there talking to all the females in the shop and they couldn't look after me properly. And so what I really like about that is the men that are coming in, getting their big low and slow smoking stuff, 100% respect everybody in the shop, enough so that it doesn't matter who's serving them. They know they're going to get looked after correctly. And for me, that's a real exciting situation to be in, because you get customers going, I'm being served by this young girl, but, potentially 17, first, second year in the trade, and they're still very comfortable to go, could you cut me a couple of T-bones? Could I get a standing rib roast? And knowing that, potentially they may or may not have the skill sets, just that trust to put it to them and say, look, here, this is what you can do. And it really empowers our team with that respect as well.
Look, I think also being well organised and making sure you've got everything available, so anything can be done at any one time. I think that is a big plus. So having your shop organised well enough to service the customers, whether you've got 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 butchers on, and whatever many service you've got there, whether they be male or female. So how many do you employ all up?
Company-wide, we've got 40 employees, and 24 of those are apprentices or trainees. I think 23 apprentices. And then in the office here, one of the staff, Irene, she's 17 and was doing year 12, and she's now come on and doing certificate of diploma in bookkeeping. And then from there, she's doing a couple of days a week in the shop and then 2 days in the office. And so we don't just have apprentices now, we've branched off, and our administrative team and our training within our organisation as well.
That's brilliant. That's a good way of having it all, having multi-skilled people in the business. Perfect.
And the value, Doug, for just that one person, right, is back to that, cultivating young people. Irene's 17. She's working closely with our bookkeeper and our finance manager. And when something comes across the desk, she gets to look at it and goes, I know this invoice. I know these products. I know these suppliers. I know what I'm talking about. And I think that often lacks with butchers too that are scaling, having people around them doing administrative tasks that can go, you know what, I need to go and jump on the counter.
Yeah, understanding how the business works and what you've got in it. Perfect. And do you encourage much input from your staff, from your team?
All of it, Doug. If you allow me to be perfectly honest, I cannot tell you the last time that I recommended a new product be put in the business. We have a monstrous melting pot of information coming back from our entire team. Tamika and I were just discussing this actually just before about how a new product's developed, and I was ready to start prompting it, and Tamika jumps in and goes, I know, customers tell me that there's something that they like and I make it and just put it in the window. I went, well, that's actually perfect, right?
That's good. Your people that are serving, the people behind the counter are the ones getting the feedback from the customers. So you're off doing your thing, you run your business, Todd, whereas you got Tamika there managing the store, listening to the customers and listening to the other servers in the store or all the other staff in the store, telling them what they want, and you've got a better understanding of what to have in the window and what to do.
Yeah, even just the 5 parcels, the pesto pockets, jalapeno poppers.
Yep.
So value adding is still pretty popular up there.
It's not as popular as other states, like Northern Territory. They're big meat eaters. They just come in for a steak, a good, nice steak. And, you get those comments like word of mouth sort of thing, where the only really negative thing that comes back is Malone's is very expensive, but it always turns into something positive when someone goes, "Oh, you're going to Malone's, they're so expensive." And you go, "But it is the best steak I've ever had." So it kind of comes back and turns around into a positive thing there.
Yeah, I sort of figured it would have been, in some cases, in some of the shops there, it'd be a hard sell to have value add. Whereas where you guys are, you're in a shopping centre, you've got a pretty broad demographic going in there. You've got a lot of different types of shoppers. So therefore, you will have those ones that are looking from that. They're not all from the NT either. You've got people from all over Australia, all over the world going in there. So, you've got quite a diverse community there. So they are looking for those things. And just because you're in Darwin or you're in the Northern Territory doesn't mean you don't have to give it to them. Like, I understand steaks. A lot of big fellas up there love their steak. They're working in mines. They're working in wherever they're working outside in the paddocks or whatever. Meats the general protein that they'd like to go for. But you've got so many other people up there that are quite happy to have something nice and easy, and they don't have to prepare it. Just heat and eat, basically.
Yeah, and we do have in our Port Douglas shop as well, as a big value-adding shop over there, got their own kind of like, is it sort of like a kitchen?
The guys have coined it the inspiration station. So we rented a small shop opposite the butcher shop, just a little one, set up a prep kitchen, and we've got a chef over there, Jason, who did his meat certificate, so he's a trade qualified butcher now as well. And we stuck Jason in there and went, go forth and create. And so Darwin, as Tamika said, we're on the move with value added, but sitting in the folder ready to go in the background is 30 or 40 developed products with nutritional panels, value added, standard operating procedures, costings done for salads, lasagnas, pies, sauces, chutneys, quiches, sausage rolls. We've got this whole product book that's been developed. And as Darwin and as the territory slowly moves towards there, we're not chasing our tail. We are rolling out and implementing as necessary as that market changes, rather than looking for new products. I watched another one of your podcasts actually with Meet at Billy's, and he said, go to your local supermarket, have a look through their pre-prepared meal section, and that will tell you what percentage of your customer base is looking for value added. And I really took that on board. I was like, that's such a basic metric. And I've since said to my other managers, hey, go over there and have a look, see what the other industry leaders are doing. And it's hard to acknowledge that that's what they're doing, but they're leading the industry. We need to get on board and bring ourselves up to that. Instead of following, eventually we need to be moving past there and maybe pushing past that barrier and us being the industry change.
Yeah. I think you've really got to take the blinkers off. You've got to get outside of the shop, and you've got to go and have a look what the majors are doing, because they don't do it for the sake of doing it, for trying something out. It takes them probably between 1 to 2 years to put a new line on their shelves. So they do a lot of testing to get the product right. Then they do a lot of testing in stores. So they'll do a sample lot of stores, maybe a dozen or 20 stores that they'll trial the product in different demographics, and then they work out from there whether it's going to continue or not. And you see the stuff that you'll see generically on all 200 odd Woolworths shelves or Coles shelves or whatever is the stuff that sells. And that's the stuff, that the products that we've got to look at. Butchers have got to look at that sort of stuff. The best thing about it is you guys can make it easier, you can make it fresher, and you can make it taste a heck of a lot better.
Absolutely. Some feedback I got from, I love hiring talent, right? I really enjoy hiring people that bring a lot to the party. And you will have met, obviously, our two lead guys, Greg and Teo, and Greg's over in North Queensland. And he said to me, not once, continues to say to me all the time, he worked at Standard in Brisbane, Standard Market. And he said, when they roll out a new product, they decide to make it, they put a lot of work into it, and they put it in, and they make 10 and they sell 1. And then 9 they give away. And then the next week they sell 2. But they commit to putting it fresh in the window every day for 3 months. And then your entire customer base has seen it in there every day for 3 months. And then it gets traction. That really resonated with me. And even now, we're not good at doing that. And I think if you want to develop value-added products, don't stick it in the window one day and be disheartened that it didn't sell the next day. It needs to be consistent and clear, and it's seed planting, right? They see that nice pie in the window every week, and then one week they go, you know what, I'll get them next week, and then next week it turns into a sale. And as I said, I'm still bad at going through that process because I want instant results, right? We all do. And I think if I can give anyone any feedback that is actually hard work in this industry, it's committing to keeping that product in there, keeping it fresh, and persevering to grow that product line.
Yeah, I made that mistake a few times. We'd come up with something. This is going way back when stir fries were first introduced into butcher shops, and the most out there sausage was like a pork and apple one or something like that. I shouldn't say that P word on here, but anyway.
Yeah.
But we'd throw something together and we put it out there, and no, that didn't sell. We won't do that again. And then about 2 weeks later, someone would come in the shop and go, "What happened to those beef things you had in the window the other week? They didn't really sell really well, so I'm not going to do them anymore." "Oh, that's a pity because I was going to give them a crack." So you sort of start to think, shot myself in the foot there. I could have, should have kept it going, and
Yeah.
And it's dead right. You've got to give it a good crack. You've got to let it run its course to see, because people already made up their mind what they want for dinner when they come in the shop. Well, not all people, but probably about 70% already know what they're going to have for dinner. They're going to have a roast or a steak or whatever. And that depends on what time of the day they're coming in too. So, they're not necessarily going to pick something up that they don't know, but they will remember it next time around and, okay, we'll give that a crack this time. I'll go back and get those from Malone's. Hey, do you get any requests for halal meat up there?
We do get a little bit, not a whole lot. Like probably 5% of our customers come in and ask for it. But yeah, it's not really like
It's not sought after. We don't specialize in it.
But yeah, we do get like a couple customers here and there.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because we're such a huge multicultural country and people are moving, looking for different areas to live, and it's, whether it be an opportunity there for butchers out there in rural Australia to look at the way that they market their product and what they're buying. You've got to respect the customer, and you've got to actually, be able to give them the right information, whether you sell it or not, but point them in the right direction, because it all comes back on you at the end of the day if you don't do the right thing.
This is a interesting conversation, actually. I don't remember the young girl that was working for us when we first opened our Kaz store. We had a lady come in, wanted some halal stuff. And I was fumbling my way through trying to do my best. This young girl comes up and goes, "Let me help you here. My family also eats," and I had no idea, right? "My family eats halal products. This is what you need to do. This is how we need to handle it." And I was fortunate enough to have someone in the store that helped us as a business go, "This is the best way to handle this. If you want people that are looking for halal stuff, the secret's very easy. Respect how it needs to be cut and processed, and honesty and integrity. And there is an entire market there that wants to shop with you, and the only reason they're not is because you're not allowing them to."
Spot on. So have you seen any shifts in in your customers over the last, say, 5 years, I suppose, since you've been there? You started off as both shops are in shopping centres, but your customer base, are they becoming younger, or you getting a lot of retirees through there, or?
For the Gateway store, it's very clear. It's a big centre, and at any given time of the year, we know who we're getting. So we know, the dry season, we're in the dry season now. Tourism's kicking on. We've got the grey nomads. We've got heaps of caravanners, travellers coming through, stocking up their vans. Vacuum packaging. We know that market. Our core group are, families, mums, dads, kids, and that's Gateway. It's exactly that, right? And then Kaz, probably Tamika's the best to ask about Kaz, because you're there every day.
Yeah.
What are the differences between those two?
Look, we don't really get the travellers at the Kaz store. It is mainly families as well, mums and dads. And a lot of Greeks. Kaz Arena during Greek Easter time is absolutely hectic. They know what they can get from us from Greek Easter, and they just keep coming back and back and back. But yeah, for like an average customer, it usually is like the mums, dads, and kids, and the Greeks. They're our big ones.
Okay, interesting. I wouldn't have imagined there'd be many Europeans living in that part of the world.
Oh, look, after Cyclone Tracy, mate, everyone left, and it was a lot of Greek and Italian families that stayed and rebuilt. And as a result, have a very large. We just finished last week was Glenty. It's I think the second or third largest weekend in the Darwin calendar. Glenty's huge. Food and culture, and yeah, it's real big up here.
So what are your thoughts on where Butchery's heading, Tamika?
I mean, just to go back on what we were talking about before, it's definitely heading towards more value added. It's always going to be like a needed trade. Where else do you think it's kind of heading?
This is a good question, I think, to ask the both of us, right? Because we're standing at two very different perspectives. Tamika's looking up at this monstrous meat career ahead of her. And believe me when I say that, it's going to be monstrous. She's on this trajectory that's just taken off. And I'm standing back a bit, looking with some different perspective. And I really see local butchers, street shops, and I love the street shop resurgence. I'm so proud of butchers that when someone goes, they've got a street shop, I go, that is tough, and you are obviously a very good operator if you're a successful street shop. I'd like to see more street shops. I'd like to see, and I think it's heading this way. I'm a centre butcher. That's what I learnt, and so that's what I'm good at. But mum and dad butcher shops that are popping up in smaller areas, servicing their community, doing a great job, selling bread, eggs, meat, almost like a corner bar. Yeah, I see a lot more of that. I see community coming back. Doug, I guess that's the point that I see in meat is smaller butcher shops can be successful. You don't need monster turnover. You need to make a modest income. You need to pay the rent, pay off your mortgage, have a holiday, look after your customers. So you can do that on that street corner, small scale. So from a business perspective, that's what I see. But as an industry, I think we need to be very careful, Doug, on the other end. I look at New Zealand. When was the last time you were in New Zealand and bought a kilo block of cheese or a kilo of beef mince sauce and lamb cutlets? I see this monstrous global imbalance with our Australian products and what it costs. I was in Japan last year at Costco, and I saw lamb racks vacuum packed for $39 a kilo in Japan. And then I walk into a local supermarket here and it's $50, $69. And so that puts up some red flags for me. We want to bring the cost of living into alignment for Australians. I think the meat industry as a whole needs to take a serious look at how we support farmers and how we can offer them value without them needing to look to export markets.
Yeah, I think so. We could go on forever for that. But, we are a small population. So, you're looking at volume in a lot of other areas where, we're only going to, I think we consume 25% of what we actually produce on an annual basis. So in Australia, and there's not much we go without either, mind you. So I often get a lot of comments from people, whether it be through our work system or just going out for dinner, and they say, why do we send the best stuff overseas? I said, well, whereabouts do you shop? And they obviously not shopping in the right places, because you can get whatever marble skull wagyu you want, or whatever type of grain-fed or grass-fed beef you want, or whatever in the butcher shop. You just got to find the right butcher. Hey, been really good catching up here, but a couple of questions. What do you do in your spare time up there in the territory?
Me personally, I have a little dirt bike hobby, but I struggle to stay on the bike, so giving it a little break at the moment.
Are you limping, are you?
Yeah, got about 10 screws in my shoulder.
Oh, nice. Is that from this year?
Last year, actually.
Okay.
I've broken it twice.
Oh, well done. What about you, Todd? What do you get up to, mate?
Look, I love the territory. I spend a couple of months a year over in Japan, snowboarding and hiking the mountains in the snow and learning about another culture. So that's my big ticket hobby, but do some gardening. And I guess because my lifestyle is, I feel very fortunate that I get to do some cool stuff. When I get to sit here in the office, I get a big buzz, and I think one of my hobbies is working now, mentoring people and growing my business because I love it. I really do.
And what about your favourite cut of beef or lamb, Tamika? What's yours? What do you like?
See, I don't want to sound boring and just say a steak, but an Angus pure Scotch, can't go wrong there.
Easy pleased.
Yeah, that's it.
What about you, mate?
People ask me this all the time, right? It's definitely not my favourite question because I love all of it. If I had to reach for something, I really enjoy the gentle flavours of dry-aged beef. Yearling YG, aged, not stupid aged, just, 6 or 8 weeks. I used to love that heavy marbled, heavy grain-fed stuff, but my taste has moved back towards that more subtle flavour of just a good grass-fed animal a little bit younger potentially, still with a nice bit of fat. That's my go-to, I think. Yeah.
Nice. I've gone away from I used to have grass-fed beef in my shop, and there wasn't anything else as far as I was concerned. And so were my customers. They just ate what I gave them. They didn't ask for anything else, so they were easy pleased. But over the years, I got to learn a little bit more about marbling and the different attributes of different types of cattle, and now I've gone back to the grass-fed again. Whether it's getting older in age and got to watch my weight, got to watch the cholesterol. Actually, not the weight; it's the cholesterol that's killing me. Don't tell the doctor. I prefer that grass-fed, that subtleness of a grass-fed. But whether it be dry-aged or a week old, it doesn't really worry me. I just really enjoy that sort of a steak.
When I'm in Japan, I shop at a mum and dad butcher shop, right? And they're like in their late 70s and 80s. There's a couple running my little local village butcher shop, and it's a big buzz for them when I roll in. I have to special order stuff that doesn't have like a marble score 5. If I want some lean meat, they are so confused by the situation. Like the standard over there is like this marble score 6 chuck. I'm just trying to make a stew.
Yeah, right. How cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Great to catch up with both of you. Really appreciate your time. Love what you're doing up there, and keep living the dream. Keep striving forward and building the Malone's empire. I think you're doing a great job up there, both of you.
Yeah, cheers, Doug. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the time and the offer to sit with you. It's been a lot of fun.
No worries. Yeah, thanks a lot. Great to catch up, and I'll get up there one day, but I will come and say good day, and we'll go out for a meal and a beer, and we'll get a grass-fed steak.
No, bring you fishing rod, mate. We'll get you a barra, big fella.
All right, you're on. You're on. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Doug.
See you later.
Bye.
This podcast is provided for information purposes only. The MLA Group strongly recommends that listeners exercise discretion and obtain professional advice before relying on any information in this podcast.